How's it going, everybody? I hope you're doing well. You might notice my voice sounds a little bit scratchy today. That's not because I'm sick or anything. I've got what my wife refers to as my Elmer Fudd voice on today, which is usually the case after I get together with a certain buddy of mine who came to visit this weekend. He and I have known each other for a little over 30 years, and during the course of that time, we've hung out for about 3 or 4 times a year for the most part. When we do, we get what some people might consider a little bit too loud, a little bit too rowdy, and last night was no exception. And so this is the result of that. One of the things that inevitably happens when we get together is that we start to share some stories. He and I both grew up in Northeast PA, and even though we didn't know each other when we were young, our crowds were cut from pretty much the same cloth, so our stories tend to run along a common thread. And when we tell those stories to amongst ourselves or people that might have come up the way we did, they don't really seem like that much of a big deal, but man, when we share those stories in some crowds, they just do not go over well. We get the hairy eyeball, but that never stops us from telling them anyway. In fact, that only intensifies the need to do so. But anyway, one of the things that I've noticed is that in the past, before I really started working on my own healing as much as I have recently, I would sit in my apartment or in my home after a visit, and I would start to feel really sad. I would feel the letdown and start to feel, depressed. I needed that constant energy. I needed to be on. I needed to grab the bare wire and to have the excitement of having somebody that expressive around. I was addicted to it. But now, today, I've noticed he's been gone a couple of hours. The house is back in order. I've had the chance to chill out a little bit, and I'm sitting here in the quiet, and I feel really content. I feel like somebody who sat down and had a good meal. Like I'm sitting on a beach and the waves have pulled back and I've got a little time to breathe before they come crashing in again. And if I had to assign a word to the way I feel right now, I'd say I feel grounded. Which is really good, considering that next weekend we'll be gathering as we do once a month on the property here for ceremony. We'll have our community together. We'll spend some time praying and just trying to keep the lights on in the world a little bit. And in the upcoming week, I'll spend a lot of time preparing for that. I'll cut the grass, I'll rake out the fire pit, do a little bit of cooking. And I'll also be focused on my intentions for entering into that ceremonial space. I'll be more prayerful, try to be aware of my body, what I'm putting into it, how I move that body through the world, try not to overexert myself, so that I can enter into that space in a good way. There's a phrase that we've probably heard many times that's attributed to the Prophet Muhammad. Trust in Allah, but tie your camel. And I really like that phrase, and I like the teaching of it. It says that, yes, there is a spiritual part in all of this, but we're here in a physical world. And there are certain aspects of moving through this world that we just simply can't afford to ignore. And I like to think of it as an electrical circuit, or more specifically, a circuit from a battery. And so if you connect the wire, both ends of the wire, to one terminal on the battery, in this case, the spiritual or the physical, the circuit doesn't work. The energy doesn't flow. But when you stand rooted in both worlds and you connect one end of the wire to each of the terminals of the battery, then the energy can flow. The energy of the spiritual can enter the world through us and then flow out into the world for the service of all. So in essence, we become the wire. Maybe that's what Jesus meant by the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That here we are in the midst of all of that. The spirit is present, and the physical is present. And that we need both in order to serve. Till next time.